Hey there, and welcome back to the Lead Her Lab. And if it's your first time, grab a chair, grab a notepad and a pen. We are going to get to work. My name is Marsha Flemings Walker, and I'm excited to have you. We come into the lab to learn, and then we get out and we lead, wherever that is for you, in your own organization, if you're in corporate, at home, in ministry, whatever the case may be. This is where we come to learn and develop and grow ourselves as leaders, and not just in respect to the influence that we have, but the impact that we have. So truth be told, I'm not quite sure what the title of this video is going to end up being, but ultimately we're going to be talking about how it is that you can build a team that is willing to run with you. And they're not only willing to run with you, but they're excited to run with you. They're excited to build a vision with you. They have so much trust and faith and belief in you that whatever it is that you say, they have bought into it. All right, so we're going to dive right into 5 or 6 things that I believe are fundamentals that you will need as a leader if you want to build a team that is willing to run with you, that is willing to build a vision with you. If you've been frustrated about people who clock in and do the bare minimum and clock out, and they don't seem to be engaged, they don't seem to get it, they don't seem to be with you, then these are some fundamentals that will be helpful to you. So this is your opportunity to assess where you are in these areas. So one of the things that I recognize as important in my own experience and in the experience of leaders that I've either worked with or observed who have created any amount of significant impact, one of the things that was present is that they had a high level of skill in their field, in their industry, in their particular area. Their technical skills were very strong. And it's important for a number of reasons, but how it really or directly connects with building a team that's willing to run with you is that when you have a team that recognizes that you have a particular level of skill and experience, that when they come upon roadblocks, when they come upon challenges, because of your experience and because of your high level of skill, you're able to teach them and show them how to navigate and maneuver those situations with ease, that it no longer becomes a problem or a challenge for them. It becomes something new that they have learned. Then it starts to build more trust, more confidence, and more faith. So it's not just that you have a high level of skill, but it's also married to number 2, which is you are willing to share what your high level of skill, what your experience and your expertise has taught you. So when you are able to operate with a certain level of ease, and they are still learning and working through, but you are able to show them things or explain things that come directly from your experience that helps them, they start to recognize that, okay, my leader, my boss is not just in this for her to look good or for him to look good, but they also want me to learn. They also want me to become better. So one of the things I used to tell my team is that I wasn't overly concerned with me looking like a star. I didn't want to come in and just look like I came in and swooped in and saved the day. And so I would teach them how to maneuver and handle the different scenarios and situations that they would face. And so it became evident to them that what I was saying wasn't just what I said, it was also what I believed and what I was living, that I wanted them to shine, right? So in being able to shine, it's not just about the skill set that they currently have, it's also how can I use what I have to empower them so that they're functioning at an even higher level. Aside from the results that it brings in the organizations, this directly affects the level of trust and faith and confidence that they have in you. Those are key components to helping them be committed to be willing to run with you and to build a vision with you, right? So it's having a high level of skills and a willingness to share those skills with them. The next thing is I was aggressive in training. I was aggressively training my team. What do I mean by aggressive? I wasn't beating them, but aside from equipping them for their immediate functions, their immediate role, and their immediate tasks, once there was a level of mastery, we started to expand what they were able to do. I started to introduce things that went beyond the scope of their work, right? And the language and the conversation was always about equipping them for opportunities to come. And I tried my best to make sure that when I was introducing new things to them, it was consistent with or connected with the vision that I had discussed with them about what they see for themselves in the industry, in the organization, etc. So I was aggressive with training. As soon as we achieved mastery, not just competence, right? But as soon as we started stepping into mastery of a particular area, then I started to introduce things outside of the scope of their work, because I wanted them always to understand I'm preparing you for your next level. I'm preparing you for the next opportunity that will come. And I want to make sure that when it comes, you are ready and not being told you need to get ready, right? So your own level of skill, your willingness to share that skill, and being aggressive with training. The next thing that I was sure to do is to ensure that they were equipped to do their job. I would fight tooth and nail. Now, sometimes this is the reality of the situation. You may be in an organization, the resources are not always what they need to be, but I would fight tooth and nail to make sure that they had what they needed to have to do their job and to do it well. And when there were limitations that were outside of my control, I worked with them to buffer the impact of that, right? So again, it's all about building the confidence, it's building the trust and building the faith. So when they recognize that there was a gap here, there was a limitation somewhere with what the organization could provide, they saw my efforts to buffer the impact that would have on them being able to do their job. The core of it is that I always provided what they need to ensure that they're equipped to do the job and to do it well. So the next thing is I was present. What do I mean? I wasn't just there physically. I wasn't just there to do what I had to do and to do my role and to do my task and my responsibilities. I was present for them. When I understood that we were going through a particularly challenging period that may need me to be more keen on touching base with them, checking the temperature, making sure everyone is doing okay, making sure that everyone is handling what they need to handle, and if there's any additional support that I need to provide. So I was present, even in times where it was not particularly challenging and things were going smooth. My presence must be felt. And that is done through consistent conversation. That is done through consistent checks and balances. That is just showing up, not just in the moments that are difficult, right? But also in the moments when everything is going as it should. It's making sure that you are present, that your presence is felt, and they know that you are a resource for them, that you can be called upon. And finally, I challenged them. I had and was known for developing a habit of consistently challenging my team. And I did a previous video about the number one question, or one question that can change your life and your leadership. I always challenge my team. Whenever we achieved anything, whenever we got to a particular level of success, whether on an individual basis or collectively, we were always looking forward and never allowed them to settle. And this wasn't, it may sound like torture, but it wasn't done in a way that is torture. It was just, how do we continue to move forward? Yes, we're going to celebrate our success. Yes, we're going to celebrate the success of each other, but how do we keep moving forward? So here's the example that I wanted to provide for you. And I wanted to show you the impact, rather, of when you start showing up this way, when you have a high level of skill, when you're open with your experience and your expertise and willing to share it with your team, when you challenge them, when you train them, and when you equip them. Sounds, again, for some people, it may sound very fundamental, but allow me to share this experience with you. So I was working in an island at the time where I wasn't born. And prior to starting my own coaching and consulting company, I worked in hospitality and tourism for about 19 years. And about year 17, I was sitting in my office at work one day, and my immediate manager, my general manager, walks in along with the training and development manager, and I was informed that I was being investigated by the Department of Labor. And I was being investigated because someone who was either working with me at the time or who had previously worked with me reported me to the department and basically said I treat people inhumanely. The conditions working with me were just I can't remember all the words, but I remember the word inhumane. And I chuckle now, but really it was quite devastating for me, because it goes so much against who I am, who I've been, who I've consistently shown myself to be with my team. And oddly enough, in the moment, my general manager was also finding humor in the situation, which I didn't find at the time. But, he said, if I know you and I know your team well enough, which I think that I do, they're going to spend this time investigating and find that it's completely false. So what ensued, I had a team of about just under 30 people, I think about 28 people at the time. And they spent the time interviewing each person individually. And this took place over the course of about 2 weeks. And so of the 28 people, if I recall correctly, they interviewed about 26. There were 2 people who were either on vacation or whatever the case may be at that time. I can't recall. But they interviewed the majority of the team. And I knew nothing about it. Everything was anonymous. Whatever feedback would come, I wasn't a part of the investigation. No one from the organization, in fact, was a part of the investigation. It was strictly the representative from the labor department interviewing each person individually. And so you can imagine, for 2 weeks, listen, I was most uncomfortable. I won't lie about it. But ultimately, at the end of the 2 weeks, which I didn't know how long it was going to take, I was called to the Human Resources Department, and there I met the gentleman who was in charge of the investigation. And he said to me, he said, I had to meet you. He said, after interviewing all of your team members, and he highlighted the males in particular, he said, I have to meet you and to say thank you, because you're not a woman that's born in this country. And the way that the team speaks about you, when they speak about how you've impacted them, when they speak about who they have become as professionals and as people, as a result of who you are to them, and the belief that you've instilled in them about who they can become, and he said, on top of that, the way that they speak about what you give to them in terms of equipping them for the job, and the way that they speak about you, and the way that you execute, and the way that you equip them to grow in this job. Thank you, as someone who is not from our country, that comes and pours into the people, the young people of our country. I'm not the best storyteller, but in essence, without making it too long, that's what it was. That's what it was about. And what I took from that experience is that when you really invest in people, when you really show up for your team, when you really give them not just what they need to survive on the job or to do a good job, but to thrive as a team in terms of the results that they create, and also to thrive as individuals within an organization that they too can grow. When you start to impact the lives of people and not just seek to have the power of influence over them, people run with you. People enter into rooms where you are not, where there's a perfect opportunity to cut you down, to, expose you if there's anything to expose. But instead, you become the person that they lift up because you have lifted them. And so if you want to create a team that wholeheartedly believes in you, believes in your vision, so much so that an organization can implement a policy they disagree with, but they will rally behind it because of how you've impacted them, and as a result of how that impact has caused them to allow you to influence them. So if this has resonated with you, if there's anything else that you would add to this list, drop it in the comments. Let me know. Let's have a discussion about it, right? Because very often we get caught up in the day-to-day, and we just need to take an opportunity to take a step back and evaluate. Am I functioning at the highest possible level of skill and expertise in my field? Am I really training and equipping my staff? Am I sharing my expertise and experience with them? Am I preparing them for their next level, right? And am I showing up fully in such a way that builds trust and confidence and their faith in me? I look forward to our next conversation here in the lab. Now it's time for all of us to go out and lead.